Hello, I am here with Susan Hammond. She's a copywriter who specialises in health and wellbeing, mental health, and that kind of sector. And we've just finished recording a lovely chat, getting to know her a little bit. So if you're interested in knowing more all about Susan, check out the other video. But this video is all about her top tips on copywriting. So over to you, Susan.
Okay, thank you. Right, okay, well, I suppose if you've already listened to the chat that we had, you'll probably already know that I kind of like rocks because I was a geologist. So today I thought I'm going to sort of share with you some tips as how you can write captivating copy using the medium of rocks to educate you. So first of all, before I actually start that, I do just, so that we're all on the same page, just to remind you, what is copywriting? At its basic, it is writing to sell. So it's writing that will persuade your prospects to actually come to you from business. It can help you build relationships with them, and that way they'll come to you. But yes, basically it's writing to sell. But like I said, geologists, so we need a few like geologist hammer, in case you didn't know. I'll stop waving that around now. But yes.
It's like your killer moment.
Scary geologist, yes. But first of all, the first thing about copywriting is structural, like many rocks. I'm going to put that down now. It's, to explain this, let me just introduce you to a particular type of rock. It's called the Portland stone, and it comes from Portland in the southwest of England, and nothing particularly spectacular, just a kind of greyish cream limestone with a few little flecks of fossils in, if you're interested in that kind of thing. But it's been used to build a lot of iconic buildings, say in London, like the Tower of London, the Cenotaph, Buckingham Palace, I think, because it has got a clean, simple beauty. It's a very good building stone. And the fact is, don't think of copywriting as an added extra to go on to the side of a beautiful website. Don't think it doesn't matter. It's really important. It, like this Portland stone, if you don't build with it properly, your whole building will collapse. So your copy is not there just to fill white space. It works with images, with videos, and all of it needs to be good.
I guess it's, if you're sort of carrying on the building analogy, it's if you didn't have this Portland stone to build this grand building, you've got nothing to put the swirly whirly ironwork railings on, and all the decoration and stuff.
Good analogy. So
note to self for next time.
Yeah, absolutely. So now my second tip, okay, your copywriting needs to grab people's attention. Now, this is where I get really excited with my pretty things. It's like you've got to imagine you're like outside a rock or a fossil shop, and there's loads of pretty things, like you might be able to see beautiful iron pyrites shining in piles inside, beautiful minerals and crystals in all sorts of different colors. And this is my favorite, a beautiful little fossil from, I don't know, 360 million years ago, plant fossil from came from the US. But it's like, I always find myself standing outside the window of a rock and fossil shop, just looking at all these beautiful things, and I'm just like, I cannot not go in. I'm like magnetically pulled in to see all of these beautiful things, and my mind's just going and thinking, oh gosh, what were these creatures doing millions of years ago, all of these fossils? And I just get pulled in, and that is exactly what your copywriting needs to be like. It needs to magnetically draw people in to your writing. And, you know, good copy grabs you immediately and pulls you in. And the way you can do this is with a headline. You know, for example, I've got a couple of examples here. We've got to say, how mindful walking can help you beat the blues. Pretty good, you know. It's kind of arouses a bit of curiosity as to like, how is that going to work? It tells you that there's going to be some benefits. But then what about this one? Mindful walking. You can win at life. Far better. That one actually taps in to the emotions. It uses power words like win and life, and put a little exclamation mark in there. It helps. But those kind of, you really must use your headline if people, particularly on things like, you know, if you're online and like doing a Google search, your blog article, if it comes up, it needs to have a good headline. Otherwise people will just scroll past and be like, I'm not interested in that. So yes, so that's tip number 2. And then tip number 3, kind of with the rocks analogy. I used to do rock climbing, so we'll dangle this one about. I couldn't put the full kit on Zoom. It's a bit difficult. But you just think of a climber who's climbing up this rock face. He is totally absorbed in what he's doing, holding on to the rock, looking for where to put his hand, looking where to put his foot next. And, you know, especially if he's not roped on, which some climbers are numpties and do free climbing. It's like,
doesn't appeal.
But by being totally absorbed in what he's doing, basically he avoids death. And I would say that's the same for your copywriting. You've had your headline, which has grabbed attention of people in the first place, but you need to keep people absorbed, keep people interested. And if they're not, they'll just fall away and die. You won't get the business.
Not literally.
Simple as. Yeah. Not literally. Yeah.
It's just a caveat.
Sorry. Yeah, but how can you do this? I would suggest that copywriting, keep it conversational. It's how we speak to one another in conversations. People are used to it. Sometimes people will tend to think, oh, I need to come across as really professional and use lots of jargon and stuff. And it depends on your audience exactly how you write, but we all speak to each other all the time, and doing things like using contractions like you'll instead of you will, and I'm instead of I am. It's actually perfectly fine a lot of the time to use that in your copywriting. And if you do things like use the active tense rather than the passive tense, so that would be saying I drove the car rather than the car was driven by me. It's far more conversational if you're using the active tense, and
I guess it's also
more engaged.
It's thinking about how would you say that if you were talking to a human being, how would you say that? Because I know that when I've been doing blogging in the past, I got frustrated with myself. I didn't enjoy doing it because I felt that the way I talk normally from one as a human to a human is different to like writing. I was a lot more formal, and I think that's because I trained and learnt to write emails a bit more formally, because I think you have to be a bit more careful, certainly initially, that when you're writing an email that you would you can't necessarily convey like a joke in quite the same way, you know, because it's down to how the reader reads it. So I was I then went very formal on how I was writing. So I've had to over time unlearn that stiffness and to be like, no, this is how I would say it, or a bit more closer to that conversational style without all the
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That is my caveat with the conversational thing. You get rid of all of the ums and ers and stuff. You don't want that in your writing. But yeah, so that was my next tip. How much time have I got? I have got a few more tips if you would like.
Oh, go on, give us a couple more and then I think we'll wrap it up.
Okay, I'll give a couple more. Okay, so this is tip number 4. Okay. Can you see that all right? I have 2 pictures of different rock faces. We've got the lovely grey one at the top and the pretty stripy one at the bottom. You know, which one looks nicer to you?
I like the stripy one.
Right answer. I mean, the fact is, though, copywriting can actually be like either. You know, just to illustrate, does, you know, the grey one, does that do anything for you? Would text like that? I call it the cliff of doom. I'm just poking my head out the side now because you can't see me. But I call it the cliff of doom. Would you want to be faced with the cliff of doom straight away? Would it encourage you to read on? I suspect not. But when you have your beautiful, pretty stripy rock face, I'd much prefer to climb that one. And yeah, you know, you can much more easily work out where to place your feet as you're climbing up, where to place your hands. And as it says on there, it's much more interesting and easy to read and cut out the rubbish. It's not full of drivel, so people will read on. And, you know, personally, I say become a formatting geek and you will get way more traction. Things like bullet points, numbered lists, short paragraphs, pulling quotes out using italics, all of these kind of formatting tools, they can help your writing look much better.
I guess it also helps with people skimming through it and picking out, like the eye picks out particular words, and even if they are maybe not so interested in reading the whole article or blog, they will still be able to have a little flick through, and they're more likely to take in snippets of it more so than just seeing a big block.
Absolutely. I'm just turned off by big blocks of text, even if it should be interesting from the headline. If it was a very good headline, I'm just like, I can't be bothered to read that, you know, even if your block of text isn't actually any more words than, say, a well-formatted piece. Just because the well-formatted one looks nicer, you'll just be able to read it more easily and be more interested. So there you go. But my last thing, very important, this one, your copywriting should be clear and concise. I'm afraid I don't actually have a big diamond of my own, hence you've got the picture, much as I'd love to have one this side. But yes, this is what good copywriting should be like. And a pure diamond just sparkles and shines. It's crystal clear and will attract people to it. And experts will recognise the purity as well. And I will say, your copywriting should not be like this. This, still on the rocks theme, is a fossil turd. Yep, it's basically a dinosaur's dinner.
What a way
Absolutely. But you just don't want your copywriting like this. I would say, if you can write your copy in 3 words, why write 10? So don't let your copy be like a turd. There you go.
And for those watching this, it's now 5, sort of just after 5 on a Friday, so it's quite apt that we're ending this recording on that note. Bit of Friday fun for us, anyway.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I wasn't expecting that.
I aim to please. See, that's the whole job of a copywriter, doing something interesting, different, captivating the audience.
I'm going to have to recover after that. Anyway, okay, well, thank you so much for those 5 top tips on copywriting. I will link all your details in the description, so please get in touch with Susan if you've got any questions on any of the things she's talked about in this tips section, or if you go back and watch our lovely chat, which we posted before, then have a little listen of that. Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a really nice way of spending a Friday afternoon.
It's a pleasure.
Oh dear. Put the hammer away. Put it down. Have a good weekend, and thank you so much.
Okay.